spent my first 15 years trying to get out of the woods because I thought it was horrible. And I spent the next 20 years trying to get back. The truth of the matter is we need to be well-rounded individuals like our forefathers were.
Hey, everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook land. It's another Mountain Readiness. You know the routine, man. Homesteading, preparedness, and the whole concept of if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So tonight we have an awesome guest. Really looking forward to this guy. He has lived in this space, in this realm for over 30 years. And so if you've got questions, get those things ready. He's only going to be able to join us for 30 minutes tonight. So I'm going to get through the laundry quick so we can get this guy on here and have a chat. So let's do hashtag Steve. If you have any questions, I'll try to throw those in there. But this is going to be a awesome show. Looking forward to it. And I know you guys are going to enjoy it too. So let me see here. Media assets. Let me pull this stuff up. You know, I'm the guy clicking all the buttons, so I've got to fumble through this. I'm a Neanderthal, guys. You know, technology is not my thing. But let's talk about real quick. You know this one right here, October the 27th through the 31st. Barbara O'Neill is our headliner. We've got a ton of people that are going to be speaking here. You know, health, the temple of God, our bodies. All right. What is your plan if things go sideways? That's really the question, because, you know, the health being the foundation of all your preparedness. Everything that you have is nothing without your health. So what is your plan for your health if you can't go down to the local pharmacy? You can't get to the doctor. And, you know, our guest tonight has experienced a lot of these kind of things with these disasters that he's worked. It's not like it can't happen here. We saw it with Hurricane Helene right here in my backyard. You know, so this is the questions you guys got to ask yourself. You know, medication, what do you do if it's not available? Are you on medications? Now, remember, this is not a rhetorical question. I'm not offering any advice in the medical realm, but, you know, if things get tough, how do you treat common ailments without relying on pharmaceuticals? And let's be honest, pharmaceuticals are synthesized from plants, most of them anyway. All right. You know, our forefathers did it. You need to have, can you have a contingency plan for your health? I don't think so. Like, you get one shot on this earth. You got one body to work with, guys. So what do you do with it? So join us October the 27th through the 31st for the Sovereign Health Summit. And then, of course, right before that, the weekend before, we got Mountain Readiness Fallout, October the 23rd through the 25th. If you purchase a ticket to the Sovereign Health Summit, you can roll to Mountain Readiness for free. We want you to do all the things, get all the info you can possibly get. Of course, right here at Mountain Readiness Fallout, we're going to have the whole tactical rifleman team. We're going to be doing homesteading, wild edibles. Jack Janega from season 13 of Alone is going to be doing archery classes. We're going to be, we'll have land navigation. I mean, it's the usual thing. You're going to have tons of classes. You pick what you want to do. It's going to be awesome. So make sure to put that on your calendar. Who do we have in the live here? My man, Patrick 7. He said comms. Absolutely. Yep. Gotta have comms. We've got comms as well. We've got night vision going on. We've got thermal demos. If you don't have thermal, guys, thermal is a game changer. Right here on the homestead, I use it quite often just because of predators and things like that. But look, y'all, if you're watching, click that like button, hit the love, and let the Facebook and YouTube algorithm gods show favorably up on us. So let's get into this. Remember, hashtag Steve if you have a question. I'm going to throw this on here right now, but let's get this started so our guest tonight can get back on the road. So tonight we are joined by a man who knows what disaster looks like from the front lives. Steve Slepcevic has more than 30 years of hands-on experience in disaster management, emergency response, and crisis planning, leading response and recovery efforts across the country and around the world. Steve brings a perspective that fits perfectly with what we talk about here at Mountain Readiness, and you don't prepare when the crisis hits, you prepare before it happens. Tonight, we're going to talk about what real world disaster looks like, where people are most unprepared, and what we can do now to ready when the systems we depend on fail. Steve, welcome to our live tonight, sir.
Well, thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. And of course, we see that you're in your car and off to another disaster, another thing. So thank you for making the time to pull over and set in your vehicle and talk to us here on the live.
Yeah, I mean, when crisis happen, there's no, the preparedness part goes out the window, and it's all about response. And it's like exactly today, there's another exact perfect element, case in point, to about what it means to be ready, not when it's happening, right? So we're getting calls for the need for firefighters, and part of the SRP has a whole separate division that is private firefighters. So Reno, Nevada, now it's the deployment side of it, and those that haven't had the pre-plan, the fire pumps, the water source put on their property, the maintenance plan, and the systems checked annually, and a strike team that's dedicated and assigned to that property in case of a wildfire are now scrambling. The time to not look for firefighters is when you need firefighters, right? It's like, I'm going to go buy insurance after my house burns down. It doesn't work that way,
No, that's the last time to have all those ducks in order is when you actually need them. And, and unfortunately, sometimes with what we saw with Hurricane Helene, which you were a big part of, is sometimes you're completely prepared, and a big flash flood comes through and takes all your preps away, and so that's a whole nother realm of things to think about, keeping supply with other friends and family, because we met a lot of people right in our backyard that everything they had, they were completely set up. They had the generators, they had the solar, they had food, and then all of a sudden it was completely gone.
Yeah, that Hurricane Helene was very interesting. I mean, for us, we had staged in Tallahassee working with Florida Health on providing a disaster response mitigation for the hospital network. And as that system turned, we already knew just from the amount of water coming down into the hillside that it was going to be catastrophic. Then we were talking to other SAR guys that we know in our network, like there's communities we speak with, and realizing that they weren't being punched out yet. And that clock of response time, when it's going to be too late. And if they're not getting those specific indicators like heads up, now wheels up, here's a base of operation, and those comms are not coming, we pushed into North Carolina. And what I could tell you is a prepper's mindset, getting ready, being prepared, you can get so dug deep into that burrow hole, and it's extremely dangerous, right? Because like you said, your whole place can get wiped out. Now what is your plan, right? So much of it is spiritually driven, and inside of us, the spirit, there's a code that's going to guide you and navigate you. So aside from your prepping, I can't tell you how strict I am about the spiritual work our team members do. There's the reason that say spiritually, mentally, physically, get your shit together, get your house in order. And when we pulled into North Carolina, the first place we stopped at was Hickory Airport. And as we pulled in, I'm there with my helicopter pilot, who's an instructor in the military, who's now on the private side, my team of paramedics, urban search and rescue personnel. I'm like, we're going in there because they're just the need, right? This wasn't a contract. Someone's calling you. Where are we going to go? We just started going in that direction, not knowing that that's where we're going to end up. Where the biggest need was, I always say, bang your phones, pay attention to the intel, and God will lead you right. He's already lining the steps of where your need is going to be. And as we show up at Hickory, people are leaving, right? I mean, they're basically abandoning all comms, all control, everything. And I'm like trying to get phone numbers. They're like, no, because the fear of liability. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys are supposed to be the guys holding the line in this type of situation, and you're leaving it to a private contractor. No one knows who's who in the zoo. And so what did I do? I took my battalion chief, my fire captain. I'm like, hey, set up an org chart. I don't know whose office that. No one's in there. Set it up on the board. Let's rock and roll. Flight, reach out to every helicopter group, every LinkedIn group you have, every Facebook group you have, and let's find as many independent helicopter pilots that want to come here. Let them know we'll pay for fuel, we'll pay for their flight, but we're not paying for the bird. I need volunteers at some level, right? But we got your fuel, we'll get your day rates, get your stuff, talk to your business, your company owners, your helicopter owners. Let's get in here. They started coming in from everywhere. And it was controlled chaos because we had to get down there. Hey, marshal the field. Let's set up this whole system. And let's get the information we were grabbing was from Facebook. People giving me the last coordinates, the name of the person, where they're at, what their medical needs are. And I can tell you, one of the most important things on the first response that we pushed out on was somebody who had a satellite phone. Wow. Right? They gave us their coordinates. They told us what the medical situation is, and we ripped a bird over there, right? Found a place to land, took care of the patient, and that then went into mass fast forward. Identified all the LZs for the volunteer fire departments, get in there, find out what the communities need. All the stuff's comms are dropped, completely cut off. Thank God for Elon Musk, who donated over 1,000 Starlinks that we just started putting with the tail number, the bird, the medical paramedic on it. Here's the place you're going. This is where you're dropping off, right? Have that person get up to that volunteer fire department, or there'll be a guy that'll meet you with this side-by-side. And it became organic. The off-road racing community reached out to them, and we started working in tandem of when we would land, where they need to get the stuff, and then give us the information that they need back so we can bring it back to and assign it to another flight. And it just started ripping and rolling. And then the medical director walks in, and she's like, who are you guys? And who sent you? And what permissions do you have? And I'm like, look, he sent us.
There you have it.
That's all the permissions that I said, he sent us. You want to argue with that? And she kind of looked caught off guard, like, because they're so caught up in the dogma of bureaucracy. And then she looks at me, she goes, well, I need all your credentials. And my guy's like, I'm like, guys, and they all drop their credentials on the tables. They're all active, top instructors, leaders. These guys are the real deal. And when she looked at it, she's like, thank God. Okay, here's some oxygen, here's insulin, here's some medical thing. This goes here, this goes here, this goes here. There was an assisted living facility. There was a nursing home. There was all this stuff that was off grid that it just went rampant. And then we set up Foothill. Then over Samaritan's Purse, I work with them closely on many different ops. They reached out and they're like, hey, we do a lot of things well, but we don't do small rotors, and we need your help to set up our entire air ops at Boone, North Carolina, at our field. And so I'm like, no problem. He's like, how do we work out the financial money? I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. You guys do what you do. I got this with our team. How many birds? I got 7 birds. No accident. Literally 7 birds we were able to secure for their field, leaving all the other ones still doing their stuff. My team of paramedics. And then we stayed an additional 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks with them. And in that process, over 500 medical rescues, over 1,000 Starlinks delivered. And all of it was just God working seamlessly. All you have to do, I always tell people, is just answer the phone.
Right.
And what are you waiting for permission? Who's going to give you permission? What do you need, some sort of permission? Oh, jurisdiction. Well, I don't know where to go. Well, you have a lot of what you don't know, but how about just going, what's another possibility? What's another possibility? What's another possibility?
Yeah. The politics over human life, it kills me every time, thinking about how this all works. I mean, everybody abandoning their stations there. I didn't even know that happened there at the Hickory Airfield. I'm not surprised, though. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's 4 birds, right, that you guys use for your forestry group. And they're big, big helicopters, right? And They're sitting on the tarmac inside the hangars. And I take the golf cart, I rip across the thing, and I'm like, hey, why aren't you guys flying? He goes, well, we flew and did a photo op for one of the politicians. I said, I got so much water, food that needs to be moved, and medical supplies. You got to be kidding me. He goes, listen, this goes way up. So then I got on the phone, I called General Flynn. And General Flynn goes, what's the issue? I said, here's the 4 birds, Bell helicopters. Here's, they're Hueys, 4 Hueys. Here's the tail numbers. Gave them all the information. They're located in this hangar. He goes, if they're not flying by tomorrow morning, and this was maybe around 2, 3 o'clock, right? Because I wasn't getting anywhere. I talked to the director at the airport. He goes, that other hangar is outside my jurisdiction. I'm only responsible for this. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, bro, you're not getting me answers. That's not helping me. So then he makes a phone call, and I'm on the tarmac, and your Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, shows up.
Yeah.
Black SUV. He's running for, at the time, for a position.
The governor.
I don't know this guy. I don't know this guy, right? He comes right out to the tarmac. He goes, who is this? He goes, are these guys all private? He goes, yep, they're all private. He comes up to me. He goes, what would this be like if you guys weren't here? And one of his EMS directors looks at him and goes, well, there'd be the smell of a lot more dead bodies. And I said, well, he's right about that. And your number count's completely off. I said, but that's a different story for a different day. I don't know what plays in that realm. I said, but I could tell you just on what we're seeing. And then he goes, who's paying for the fuel? I said, we're paying, and we're getting donations from some citizens that are stepping up, and they're helping fund the fuel. And we literally zeroed out by the time the whole thing was done, literally just to cover the gas. But God works just perfectly in that way, right? It's like, absolutely. I'm going to give you just enough of what you need, not a penny more.
Make it happen. That's great. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. I know, that whole thing was just people helping people, really. It was communities coming together and making things happen. And that's sometimes what it takes more often than not. Guys, you can scan that right there. This takes you to Steve's website and all the great things that they're doing. Can we take a moment? I know you're in a big hurry, Steve, but can we take a moment to kind of talk about, the man, which would be you, kind of how did you get to this point in your journey?
I find that through a lot of hardship, right? God has derailed me many times in my endeavors. And it's a humbling process as he's chiseling away everything that's not you, right? And when it gets to the core of the spirit, and it's a purpose-driven mission that is not about ego, then the voice comes and says, I can now use you. Do you know what I mean? My hat goes off to the people in North Carolina. I can't tell you how beautiful it was to see when we'd land, and I'm like, your place just got devastated. And these people in the mountains of North Carolina, they're like, no, we're good. Just take the stuff you have. Somebody else needs it more than us. We're good here in this location. We're putting it all together, But the resiliency, the strength. But this is where the massive need for what you teach and what you train is taking people of how our forefathers foraged for food, made leather, right? Ate off the land, took care of their families, right? The protectors. And in those things of what we have become so comfortable and so soft, right? And again, I live in San Diego, just came back from doing the search and rescue out there with a team of 27 in Venezuela, and seeing how resilient and loving and beautiful these people are with so little. Sometimes the least amount of stuff that we have, the more spiritual and the more godlike I find. That's why it talks about how a rich man, is so difficult for him to get through the eye of a needle, like the camel needle, because of how much stuff he carries with him and how those things are so important. And it's so difficult that when I come from these different missions, like, you know, the Hurricane Jamaica or the Venezuela or the Syria op that we did, or where we're going into Nigeria now for another op on a Christian mission for security and humanitarian, all that stuff that's going on there. Coming back home and listening to somebody stand in a Starbucks line, and I don't drink Starbucks. My daughter was with me, and, you know, the skinny jeans and a guy bitching about how the foam's not right, not enough syrup, and the drizzle's wrong. And I'm like, holy, this is your problem. This is a mental problem. Let me take you where, if you found a morsel of meat in your soup, you're excited, right?
Yeah.
If you're getting a meal, just a meal of, you know, whatever, right? You're so ecstatic. And these people, the level of softness and how the softness corrupts the man.
Yes.
You know,
we've just become so instant gratification push button in this world. You know, everything is about, I need it right now. I want it right now, you know, and that has made us truly soft, you know, just that in the Starbucks line. I've seen the exact same thing myself. You know, we've gotten to the point that these little itty bitty things that matter nothing have become our life.
Yeah, and I find that I will look forward to the challenge. I look forward to the stress. I do with our team a grid down training that we do with our special forces, Byron Rogers, who's my business partner under Sabre Defense Team. And I look forward to even the fact that I get pushed out in these uncomfortable zones. Do you know what I mean? And working from when your eyes open to your eyes closed, and we're on top of these piles, and we're burrowing down 9 floors, going 60 feet down into another end of the building, you know, recovering live people, and then over 30 bodies, right? And the smell, and you're sleeping on the back of a truck, and you're extremely uncomfortable. Then you're coming home to do a parasite cleanse because God knows what you ate, you know? Yeah. But you're not thinking of that. You're just there to serve and to do what needs to be done. But the beauty of it is I look forward to those moments of every time the phone rings, do you have a call for me? And answering the call and stepping, what I say, way into the unknown, getting really uncomfortable, and always reminding my team members, because these guys are the best of the best. And they're chosen for their character, because when it gets extremely hot, they don't fold, their wheels don't come off. But some of the rookies, sometimes when we're out there, I got to look at them and I can see they're getting worked and their wheels are starting to steam up. And I'm like, look, slow down, look around you, look around you. You get to go home.
Right.
They don't.
Now that's, Steve, I wanted to throw up here. I pulled just a few minutes of the video that Amy sent me over here, and this is your team here in Venezuela when you guys were first rolling in, and kind of the stuff that you've seen. If you don't care, I'd love to play a little bit of this so people can actually, you know, see some of this footage and what you guys were seeing, eyes on, boots on the ground as you rolled into Venezuela.
Sure.
All right.
No problem.
All right. Well, we're pushing finally to our aircraft into a zone that is in some of the worst condition of most any place on the planet to try and save lives. Touchdown, Venezuela. Now it's time for the boys to get to work. Right now, we're going to a site that they say is the worst of the worst. You can just see the absolute damage and chaos everywhere.
I can't promise miracles. All I can promise is that I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that we get to as many people as humanly possible. But last small percentage, we're in the severe, moderate to severe now. Okay? Right. So that's all we have. It's like that little window is closing very fast.
There's word that some family members or some folks might be still in this wreckage.
pregnant and she's hypertensive. She has all the symptoms for preeclampsia. There's nothing that we can do here. She has to go to the hospital.
You guys in there?
Yeah, we just left one site. There were several bodies that we recovered, no life finds, and now we're off to the next building. Percentages are starting to drop hour by hour of the potential for finding life, but we're not quitting. We're working through the night. This is a nonstop effort.
We found 2 bodies. You did? So now we're gonna extract them. We're gonna set up like a rope system.
The husband has been working for 4 days to find them, and he finally found them.
This little girl's right inside that. Came out yet.
So we have a mom, 3 kids. You want to do very delicately how you move around the body. You don't want to dismember the body. I want us to be as a group. We look at it and then we decide how we move it.
Where's your hand?
Okay, I'm going to show you over here.
So right now he's confirming the placement of the child and seeing if we can extricate her, which is a difficult task because you're looking at an unstable structure, and what does he need to free her from the building?
And there's a process to respectfully handle the body, and it's the inevitable fact that happens in these situations. Okay, this is your window of opportunity.
You know, I know, like you said, you've got a lot of time that, you know, you don't have a lot of time here, but, you know, that is insane. Like, what goes through your mind just watching those clips, you know?
It's hard because standing next to the father in that video, and then pulling out his wife and his 3 kids, his niece, his nephew, his mother-in-law. Another side of the building, we're moving 8 bodies, all young kids, getting the mom out on one of them and then not getting the baby out, and the mom wailing, holding on to the dead baby, having one of our search and rescue team members who's also one of the pastors. We have them pray it all in the morning. We're the ones who do the prayer circle at night when we debrief. You know, the people living on the streets are watching you, you know, so there's no quarantine, that nothing prepares you for that.
Yeah. You know, I was on the fire department for almost 5 years. We did a lot of car accidents. And I remember, you know, when the beeper would go off, you know, running, you know, get to the station, jump in the truck. And I remember these high hopes, you know, you're pumped up, you're excited. Hey, we're going to go out here and we're going to save lives. And then, you know, a lot of times we do, but there's those times when we would arrive and you roll up and it's just the opposite, you know, and children involved and things like that. I mean, you guys are on a constant roller coaster doing things like this, you know, highs, lows, back and forth. I mean, how do you guys cope with that after the fact?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it plays over and over in your head, and you're like, man, if I was there a little earlier, 1 day earlier, 2 hours earlier, you know, the body's still warm. You're like, man, you know what? Oh man, you play that stuff over and over. And I tell you, man, if it wasn't for my faith, if it wasn't the spiritual work that I do, there's no way I would you know. And then a big part of it is my home life. I have an incredible wife, beautiful kids, right? My kids are older now. My oldest one's 31, middle one's 25, my boy's 21. But, you know, my wife is a powerhouse, and she holds up the house, and she's my cheerleader. She's also, you know, known as the AKA warrior mom because, you know, after having written bestseller, you know, and raising our son with autism, and like God put so many challenges in our lives and what I call beautiful gifts. And if it wasn't for all those things, you know, I find that the greatest form of love is to be in service. And so I feel that that's my contract, is to show up in service and be the best human, you know, to be that good human, to be the best possible example, first as the son of God, you know, a Christian, yeah, an American, right? A good human being. Because, you know, I can't tell you how many times we show up on these things and we'd roll into the site and we'd make rescues, and sometimes we'd recover the body so that people can, you know, close that chapter, you know. But every time it was like, oh, the Americans are here, you know, because we're bringing in listening devices, jackhammers, saws, and all the stuff we left behind, right? People are like,
Right.
what do you mean? That's expensive. I'm like, wait, I can go buy that again.
Right.
They're going to be living here. Let's empower them. Let's train them. And we did a lot of that because it was nobody flying flags. It was just the best of humanity showing them. Seeing these little kids bringing us coffee at 3 a.m. on the top of these piles. Man, the love and the singing of the Christian hymns in the center of these parks to keep the hope of people trapped in the buildings, that music I'll never forget. So, I look forward to these things because the best of humanity, like I experienced in North Carolina, I'll do it over and over again because I'm like, the people are going to show up that God intends for us to meet, and they're beautiful people. They're first responders. They may be bringing me coffee at the top of the pile, or they may be the person who's not coming but is contributing to paying for the fuel, right? The truck driver. So we're all the hands and feet of Jesus, right? This is what we're all that part of it. We're there to serve in one way, or be a contribution. Don't ignore it because your spirit will continue to scream at you. Oh, it does for me if I don't.
The story of Job, right?
Listen.
You get beat on a whole lot, but you don't deny the Lord.
And that's why I just go. My wife goes, oh, he's leaving. I'm like, yeah, honey, I'll see you when I see you. I love you. But this is what we do, just jump on and figure it out as it goes.
I really enjoyed having Tracy on the show, and she is absolutely the warrior mom. I mean, she's got the spunk and the fight. It is very, very well. There's no doubt in my mind that is the most fitting words to describe your wife, Tracy. But you guys, I mean, you had an autistic son, and you guys went through a whole bunch of crazy stuff there at the after your son was born. I mean, that was stepping away from businesses. I mean, you guys were you basically gave up everything that you owned at one point, correct?
Yep. And it was perfect because God will take everything from you. And I remember fighting for that, and then that voice going, why are you fighting me? Your life no longer serves that direction. I have a new set of tracks. Look below you. It goes to a different destination. I am shaping you for something else in your life. And it's like you get reimagined in the process, and you're like, wow, I'm a different person than I was back then. And thank God for just stripping everything that I held on to that I thought mattered. Right. And then you realize, man, it's all, we have a short runway. Right? What are you doing on that time you're here to be the greatest part of humanity, to make a change, to create a shift, to inspire others, to empower others? Because there's a certain amount of time that as long as God gives me strength, I'll keep doing this. But in the meantime, I pour into the younger guys. They're like, man, you take the time out of your day. Yes, I'm going to break it down for you, my friend. I'm going to break it down for you, my brother. You're going to have to pick up the baton and run. Right? So let's start jogging next to me. Because you're going to be running here pretty soon. And I keep throwing stuff at them. And they're like, because I trust you. And they're like, I said, how about you start trusting you?
Yeah. There's so many distractions in this world, and that pulls us away from, the fact that time is fleeting and we only get so much of it here on this earth. And, in this day and age, it seems like we waste way too much of it on trivial things that actually don't matter at all.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I'm not going to keep you much longer here, Steve. I know you've got a ton of stuff to do, but here at Mountain Readiness, we push the preparedness thing. We talk about community, and which is something that you rely on a lot with multiple businesses in the realm of even you've got your security and the humanitarian side of things. But I've seen so often now. In fact, I just saw some comments. I was on X earlier today on a post, and of the people who say, I don't need to prepare for anything. If things go sideways, I'll go out and take what everybody else has. And it seems to be this crazy mindset that's becoming more and more popular in this day and age, because I guess it is very hard to be a good human, it appears. But, people often ask me, how do I find a community? How do I build a community? you know, and you being a person that lives in the realm of community, you know, what are some tips to help people trying to build that community for the reason of being prepared?
Well, it always starts with the man, right? If it is to be, it is up to me and my committed action. It starts with me. Where am I spiritually, physically, mentally? People say family first. No, you first, right? Get aligned. Then family, then community. Community, I know all my neighbors, right? You know, because the world I'm in. Then I have an extended community, right? I have alternate routes. I live in earthquake country, right? I carry on my visor here the seatbelt cutter, the PD, right? In my backpack is my satellite phone. In the back, I have my Starlink, mobile Starlink with my battery backup. It's the best thing that you can do. And if you ever need a place to get it, sat123.com. Tina Blanco's always been there for us in all these wide area disasters, including Hurricane Helene. You know, because in the mountains, that was like the most incredible thing. You know your area, right? People say, "Oh, I'm not in wildfire country." Well, you may be vacationing in California or Nevada right now, for example, of what we're surrounded by, wildfire smoke everywhere. You may be in vacation somewhere where there's a wildfire ripping in through North Carolina. Didn't have it before, now you do, right? What are the dangers? What are the evacuation zones? How do you know these alerts? Like download Watch Duty. It's a simple app that wherever you're going, it'll track. You don't have to have the tracking part of it, but you can turn on and you could look at your map, or you could set alerts around your house if there's a fire, which notifies you that you could be completely oblivious to it. You know, so there's a lot of things that people can do. You know, and I have a separate landing page that is a srp24.com /prepare. There's no affiliate codes or stuff like that, but it's just stuff including a disaster plan I have that I've put together for families, right? And resources and stuff like atmospheric water purification, and just all the little things. But I always say create a network, right? People go, what makes you so effective? I'm the guy who's got a guy, right? I know the welder in my neighborhood, the doctor, the forger, all those type of things, the gunsmith, right? And then people know that I have kind of a well-rounded in all aspects of it, but never stop training. You know, take your mountain course. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, I'm going to come up and just be a student, because there's always something to learn from somebody else, right?
Right.
And you could have the best prepared disaster plans, and then you go to one op and you're like, wow, that tool, that moment, that changed everything.
Yes.
Right. The floods in Texas at Mystic Camp, when we responded, we brought in hard hat divers out of Mississippi. Game changer. FEMA's like, hey, who can we use? I'm like, yeah, you can use our guys, but they're underwater. These guys are burning air in tanks and up and down, and these hard hat divers are used to working in the Mississippi River, and it's filthy as can be. They're oil rigs, you know, they're working on oil rigs. Right. So for them, it was like, I could be down there for hours, trailers parked on the side, and we're dropping tanks. And then we brought the Sherpa in, you know, and so they were like, what are you doing? I said, then you have the cadaver dogs, then you have the drones that are with the thermals. And this is stuff that we did during the border stuff with Charlie Kirk, that we brought our drones in, the thermals. Let's go find, you know, follow the hogs. Let's follow the birds, you know what I mean? And let's see where, and, you know, just in getting hits along the river. But there's specific tools that fit. And sometimes if you don't have it, it's nice to have somebody, you know, who has that special skill set, that then as a team, you become extremely effective.
You know, I love that you embrace the whole concept too, that it's, you know, a very large part of what you do for community is being a viable asset for that community. You know, so often you see people, they're like, oh man, I'm going to head over here when things go sideways. We're going to come to your house, you know, but what, you know, we should always ask ourselves, what can I do personally to be a benefit to a community? And so that's why I love about what you just said. You know, you've got the welder, you've got this, but you have all these things that you do to contribute. And that's what really makes a community strong, is when everybody is pulling their weight and pitching in.
Yeah, and the father that's sitting there in his living room, watching videos, but doesn't take a CPR class or a basic life support safety class, right? Not learning the skill sets, and then his wife drops in front of him, or he's the only one there, and his father drops, and he could have saved his life. He gets to live with the fabric that he just ignored, you know, being the first responder, because we all may be called. So never stop training. Take that course. Stop putting the stuff off. Look, a useful man, we're called to be protectors and save those, and be that person in the people that we're at. So you don't want to be the guy in the flight that they're like, hey, is there a doctor on board? The person's having a heart attack, right? No, there's no doctor on the board. Well, what are you being to be your contribution? Are you sitting there going, well, I should have took the class. I could have done something here for this man, but oh well, we'll live with that. I'm a choice, and I'm not living with those type of consequences.
No, I love it. I love it. I know you got to scoot, Steve. I'm not going to keep you any longer, but where can people find you? I've got this up on the board. Do you offer civilian training as well? I'm sure that's something that people are going to ask here later.
Yeah, through the security stuff, we do that type of training through Sabre Team. They can reach out to me at steve@srp24.com. No problem.
Awesome.
And then I'll let them know when we have different types of trainings. Yeah, and then if there's first responders in your community that want to be on the roster, if they're active firefighters or retired firefighters, we're always looking for people like that. SF guys that have credentials, that have EP, executive protection work. That's going to be under Sabre Defense Team or Bravo Research Group. And so I'll direct them, I'll steer them. But yeah, if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them, because it just makes us as a community much stronger. For your audience, I'll always give them the facts. This is what works for us. This is what doesn't work for us. Here's where you can get some great training in your region. No need to fly to California, right? No need to go to Colorado. We have different trainings also in like Tucson. But, if people want to enter a certain field, I'm happy to point them in the right direction,
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, sir. And thanks for everything that you and your wife and your team do, because, it's life-changing. And we have great appreciation for the stuff that you guys did here in Hurricane Helene that affected all of us, right here in our backyard. But I'll hit you up here when you're not super busy. Maybe we can do this again, and maybe you won't be on the road, or maybe you will.
Yeah, we'll just never know. But if any of your audience wants to see the stuff on Hurricane Helene, if they go to YouTube and type in Strategic Response Partners, Hurricane Helene, there's a highlight reel that shows the work that was done out there, which is pretty cool, And again, my hat goes off to the people of North Carolina. These people made our job easy. They really did. They really showed up in a massive way. It was impressive.
No, awesome, man. And that's what it is. People helping people. So thank you, sir. Yep. Safe travels to you and your team. And we look forward to talking to you again. All right. Take care.
Thanks for having me on your show. You too.
Absolutely.
Bye for now.
All right. Well, we had not planned on rolling solo for a few, but Steve just so happened got the call, and so we didn't really be able to get into a whole lot of the things that we're going to talk about. So now it's just me up here running my yap. But check out Strategic Response Partners. These guys really get deep into, they've been all over the world, still all over the world. And of course, now he's out there with the wildfires. It's just a really good group of guys. And it was awesome just to be able to get him on here for a few things. But, shoot, what are you guys up to out there in Facebook and YouTube land? I can run my mouth a little bit about, we are currently, what are we at, 450 chickens on the ground, getting ready for fall succession, planting, getting beds ready for that. Patrick 7, he says, oh, here we go. I'm still from being injured at work last week, moving slow. Man, that's not good. I didn't even know you got hurt. You know what? The total casualty number for Helene. The sad part is that this Hurricane Helene numbers, I just don't see it. I don't know. I think it was under 200. Don't quote me on that, but that was the last numbers that I'd heard. Maybe that's it. It just doesn't really seem right though. And there was a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of homeless that was around there and people like that. I don't really know. I don't, no one has the exact numbers to my recollection. So, maybe one of these days we will know. I seriously doubt it. But hey, what's all you guys doing out there for your preparedness? Let's talk about that some. What are you guys up to? We got anybody doing any canning, gardening? I know I am currently getting ready to start putting together basically like an off-grid greenhouse. I've got a greenhouse that I'm putting together. It's like a 10 by 24 greenhouse. And I'm playing around with hot compost. I currently have piles of compost that are 3 foot across. I've used fencing, heavy duty fencing, put it in a circle, and they're 4 foot tall, 3 foot across, using composting. And I've got to the point that I can maintain about 165 degrees for literally 2 months now. And here's my wife coming in to wave at me. Did you already do all the chores? What? Already all done with the chores. Well, there was my lovely wife, Amber, joining us to say hi and bye. So, but this hot composting, I've got an idea. I'm going to keep you guys in the loop about it. I'm super stoked and excited about this because if I can pull off radiant heat using duct work running through the compost piles, it is possible that I could grow food year-round utilizing heat from the compost. So I'm fired up. I am super stoked. I can't wait to test this out this winter, and that's what's on the horizon here. So what else have we got here? 007, working on comms. Just got my technician license back and studying for the general. How did you lose it? Is there an expiration on this? Because unfortunately, I have not gotten any of these licenses. Yes, I know. There you go. There's my shortcoming is comms. But good for you for getting it back. Canning for 2 weeks. Awesome. 2 weeks. What are you canning, Nancy? I know we need to get some canning done, but we're busy as one-legged man in a butt kicking contest here anymore, it seems like. Trip, he's getting into the drones. Getting into drones, lots of fun, very useful, checking the property lines quickly and safely. Trip, I know by the cigars that you smoke that you ain't broke. So you need to hit up the man, Byron Russell, over at Black Armor Guns and check out that drone class that he's got. I'm going to tell you right now, that thing is off the hook. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I'm sure some of you do, but Byron Russell from Black Armor Guns, also tactical rifleman, was an assaulter, of course, with Carl overseas. Carl being, running the sniper teams and as well as Sue. But Byron to this day is the only guy to this day who has been allowed to fly a drone around the White House. I mean, that's how good Byron is in the realm of drones. And so when you go out there to his class, that drone defense and counter drone, he's going to blow your mind. He also has some equipment for sale for those that want to spend the money that is just straight up off the hook. And I'll tell you, the stuff that you get out of this class, I mean, we all know drones are here to stay, right? Drones are here to stay. It's going to be more and more, the AI thing now where they're using drones and using AI to fight wars like the Ukraine has been utilizing. They're here to stay. You need to get spun up on them. So any of you that can get, and here's the other thing, Byron only takes 4 students at a time. 4. That's it. This ain't no class where you stack 30 people in there. He will not take but 4 people. And the man, Tom Bryce over there, absolutely, it's an awesome drone class, been through it. Yeah, guys, get spun up on that. And Trip, you need to go do that class, man. I'm telling you, all of you guys, if you can fit it in, should absolutely do this class. So what else? What else are you guys up to? I know right now we're working on infrastructure here on the homestead. Fencing. We've got a bunch of fencing we're trying to get put in. Of course, firewood is on the agenda. I've got a bunch of firewood to split and stack. Are you guys, how many of you guys out here that are still in the chat have alternative sources of heat? Is what I want to know. How many of y'all are electric? How many of you are natural or propane? And how many of you have that capability, if necessary, to burn wood? Because I don't know if you've been keeping up on these AI data centers and the power that they're going to need, but it appears Duke, which is our power company here in this area, they ain't going to be able to supply all that power that is needed. And do you think they're going to cut the AI data centers of their power, right? Or are they going to cut ours in the forms of rolling blackouts? Who knows? But, how many of you guys have alternative sources of heat? That's something that is super important. You can always find a shade tree and stay cool, but it's real hard to stay warm when the snow starts flying, right? You can only put on so many layers of clothes, and that, you get those youngins in the mix. Well, that's a whole nother world of a shit show right there. So what did Patrick say? You should have Sue split wood for you. Man, I stole all that wood, Patrick. Not even lying. There was a big old pile left out there in Angry Land, and I just took all of it and threw it in the back of the truck, brought it home. It's sitting right out here in a pile, man, ready for my stove. So big shout out to Sue. Thanks for splitting all that wood so I could take it home and save me the effort. Let's see here. Wood burning stove at my dad's house in the basement. Just have to hook it up to the pipe in the wall. Good for you. Make sure to clean that pipe out too. So that's another thing. I got to get up on the roof and do some stovepipe cleaning. So another thing that is on the agenda. What we have here, Ghost Anime 84, have electric heat, gas heat, gen power for electric heat. Have you got your fuel all stored up as well for that? Which is hard to do with the prices. I'll tell you what, the prices of fuel have just went insane. And I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see that reflected in our heating bills for propane and natural gas as well. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Deanna, I have portable fire source, both propane, solar, and wood. Boom. Good on you, Deanna. We are currently looking at solar, not for the entire home. I mean, we've got a generator that we can use that will supply a good majority of the house. But we're also looking at a solar to carve off just like our freezers, processing area. We're working on a commercial kitchen right now for the homestead because, Amber has Rustic Roots Heritage Homestead. And so we do all the poultry processing on that. So we're going to try to break off that entire section and make it completely off-grid, independent for itself, which is a benefit for us as well. So how you doing, Sandy Davis? Thanks for jumping on with us. Good, glad you could join us. How many of you guys have solar? And I've not delved into the solar thing very deep, so I understand the basic concept. I also know that solar seems to be, we hear a lot talk about RF signal and dirty electricity and kind of the bad stuff that can come by having solar too close to the home. So that's why we're thinking about keeping this quite a distance away from the house and bringing it in by line. But what's Patrick got to say here? He says, after spending most of my adult life working below zero in wintertime, found the best thing to do is just move around. Yep. It does, Patrick. But what about that youngin? Because at a certain point, that youngin can only walk around and move so much. That's what I'm talking about too. As you get older, I'm 48 now. Every year it gets a little bit harder. And I can tell you, thin-skinned, you get a lot more thin skin. And Patrick, you're still a young whippersnapper. And I will tell you, you get thin skin and the cold starts setting in more and more and more and more. So something to think about, man. Something to think about for the preps, alternative sources of heat. The propane tanks, you can get the little screw on, the 20-pound propane tanks. You can get the screw on radiant heaters. And I'll tell you, one of those will heat a whole room. You can run that radiant heater without any power. All you got to do, and most of them even come with an auto igniter. You can heat an entire room with one of those 20-pound tanks. I've actually done it for 8 to 10 hours, that thing, as long as you keep it on a lower setting. And so if you don't have solar, you don't have wood heat, and you're dependent on electricity or propane or natural gas, man, that's something to think about. And it's relatively cheap, so you can get yourself through the nights. Patrick said, stuff them in right in the bag. I mean, that's one way of doing it too. Absolutely. So where do you buy one of those heaters? Actually, you can get them off. Amazon's got them. Just look at propane radiant heaters, propane heaters. Do not get the one that has like the little forced air fans on them, because then you're back to needing power. So you want the actual one that screws into the top of your tank. It is 100% radiant heat, and it will run, like I said, 8 to 10 hours. Most of them's got a little igniter on the side of it. It's plug and play. You put it on there and you got heat. It's as simple as that. So you can store those things too. I mean, you can store quite a few 20-pound propane tanks laying around, and it's easy. You can carry that into your home. It's safe for indoor use. And not only that, they also have tip protection on most of them. So the thing gets knocked over, it automatically shuts the propane off to the heater. So that's a good bonus right there. But let's see here. I have a lot of smaller power sources, inverters built into ammo cans. So, I mean, that sounds cool. Milwaukee and DeWalt batteries. Sweet. Is this stuff that you've done yourself, Patrick? I think I've seen some stuff like that. Sounds cool though. So now we're working on infrastructure right here. We are finally winding down for the year with our processing. So we have, like I said, about 450 chickens, and we've got 60 turkeys right now. And so we'll be doing 100 next month, and then we'll process. So I'm looking forward to it, to be completely honest. I have slain so many chickens this year. I'm actually just tired of doing it. And I know I speak for Amber as well, man. We have put a lot of chickens in bags and in freezers. I'll tell you that. Pimping ain't easy, and neither is homesteading. So, yeah, that is going to be awesome. I think I'll get a break. We'll probably do our last processing, most likely the 1st of December, which is going to kind of suck. Processing chickens in, possibly some snow flying, but luckily it's North Carolina. We don't have to get too crazy with it. And that will wrap it up the year. So I will get a couple months off to kind of regroup and clean up facilities and get everything ready for chickens coming in the spring, before we do it all over again. And so we are looking at doubling production next year, possibly tripling. So doubling production means if we double, I will have 600 plus chickens on the ground for the entire year, is what that looks like. When you talk, and then of course 200 would be processed every month, and another 200 comes in to start growing out in the brooder until they feather, and so on and so forth. So any of y'all want to get schooled up on some chicken raising, chicken processing like that, man, hit me up. I will bring you out here to the homestead, and you can learn till your heart's content. What's Patrick say here? T, you should look into the local community. Maybe you can get some child labor in the disguise of teaching kids how to process chicken. Man, I'll tell you right now, we have tried it. We even, we even got employees from the local ag, and none of them last. Like, people come out here and they're like, oh my gosh, this is hard. We had one come out and they were scared of chickens. Like, we actually had an employee, or Amber did, that was scared of chickens working on a chicken farm. I have no idea, man. You know, what do you do with that? Like, took everything she had in her just to pick a chicken up. You know, we try, but people just, you know, people don't like to work. I roll with an all natural heater. Menopause for all those. You know what? I mean, guy benefits off this as too. I mean, well, at least for the heat side of things, maybe not the beatings that sometimes you give them. So, you know, but hey, at least he stays warm. We finally made it through the hour, guys. So I apologize that like I said, Steve couldn't stick around. He was like, man, if we can keep this about 30 minutes, that'd be awesome. But he's one of them dudes that live in those realms. He's flying all over the place and driving all over the place. I mean, these guys, Venezuela, Jamaica, it is just insane how much this guy is on the road, but hats off to him. I really appreciate him being able to come onto the show for a little while. Make sure, if you haven't, go ahead and scan that, guys. Check out what this guy does and what he has to offer. I mean, phenomenal dude, and they really got their heart in the right place. So if you got the chance, check Steve out. I'm going to try to get him back on the show when I've got a little bit more time with him. And but who knows what that looks like. So thanks all y'all for hanging out and being a part of what I do. I could not do it without you. And I wouldn't want to. So looking forward to seeing a bunch of y'all here in less than 2 months. We've got another awesome guest on next Monday. Join us, and you know the drill. Stay safe, stay ready.